Close your eyes now and allow the day to slip away. Let the noise fade, let the weight of thought grow lighter. The world outside grows distant, and only the soft hum of imagination remains. Tonight, we walk together into a dream. Not just any dream, but one spun from shadows and light, from history and possibility. Imagine the Hidden Leaf Village, a place of tall gates and winding paths, of rooftops tiled in gray and streets lined with lanterns. In your memory, it is bustling, a village alive with shinobi, with laughter, with courage. But tonight, the picture is softer. The village rests, wrapped in twilight, every corner bathed in the quiet glow of evening. Breathe in deeply. Feel the air of this imagined night, cool, crisp, touched with the faint scent of smoke from cooking fires. Breathe out slowly and let yourself drift into stillness. For in this dream, the village is not quite the one you remember. Whispers move through the night like invisible winds. They curl around the rooftops, slide through the narrow streets, and settle among the trees. Whispers of power, whispers of eyes that see too much, know too much, reflect too much. The Uchiha. In the story, you know, they were a clan burdened by suspicion. They stood at the edge of trust, watched closely by their own comrades, marked by doubt that clung like a shadow. But in this dream, it is different. The shadow does not cling to them. They do not bow their heads, waiting for the day when judgment falls. They rise. Tonight, the village lies beneath a blanket of calm. Children return from training, laughter still echoing faintly in the air. Merchants pull shutters closed, lanterns swinging gently above their doors. Families gather, sharing meals, telling quiet stories as the stars begin to appear. Yet in one corner of the village, where walls encircle a proud and ancient compound, the rhythm is not the same. Beneath rooftops curved like crescents, within courtyards paved with stone, the Uchiha gather. Their faces are lit by lantern light, the glow catching on the edges of their eyes. And those eyes, those eyes, reflect more than flame. They gleam with crimson, the tomo of the Sharingan turning slowly like embers stirred by a breeze. The air is not filled with noise. No shouting, no clash of blades, no chaos. Instead, what stirs here is subtler, like the quiet hum of a fire warming the air without crackle. A pulse, a breath shared between many hearts, a promise that grows stronger with every glance, every nod, every word spoken in deliberate calm. They speak not of destruction, but of change. Not of ruin, but of guidance. Not as conquerors, but as guardians who will no longer wait at the edge of the circle. For too long they have protected a village that does not fully embrace them. For too long they have carried the weight of mistrust in silence. And in this dream, patience does not stretch on forever. Imagine their voices, low, steady, measured. Words fall like ripples across a still pond, carrying outward until they touch every ear. The elders nod, their eyes heavy with memory. They have lived long enough to feel the cold distance of the village's suspicion. They have lived long enough to know what silence costs. The young listen wide-eyed, their hearts burning with restless fire. They have grown strong in training, they have mastered the Sharingan, yet still they are told to wait, to be patient, to remain loyal, even as loyalty is questioned. But tonight, their patience has reached its end. The decision passes between them like a shared breath, not shouted, not forced, but carried in unity. It is time. Pause now. Notice the way the air feels in this moment. Cool but not cold, calm but charged with promise, like the hush before a storm that will not bring chaos but renewal. The village sleeps, unaware. Unaware that tomorrow will not be the same as yesterday. Unaware that the path beneath their feet has quietly shifted. The Uchiha rise not in fury, but in unity. not as a fire that consumes, but as a river that changes its course. Quiet, steady, unstoppable. And so, section 1 of our dream unfolds. We stand together at the edge of possibility, watching a different beginning take root beneath the stars. The Uchiha have chosen not silence, but strength. Not submission, but leadership. Not exile at the edge, but a step to the center. The hidden leaf lies under a sky full of stars. Each star twinkles softly like a reminder that countless possibilities shine above us, waiting to be imagined. And with each star, the story deepens gently, slowly, like drifting into sleep. Breathe in, hold it, and let it go. The night carries you safe and calm. The dream carries the Uchiha strong and steady. And together, we move forward into the story of what might have been. The night lingers softly over the hidden leaf. A night where every lantern glows like a tiny sun, where every shadow stretches long and quiet. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the rhythm of the village, the distant murmur of streams, the whisper of wind brushing across rooftops, the steady breathing of a place at rest. But even in such stillness, not all hearts are calm. For beneath the peace of the hidden leaf, beneath the laughter of its children, and the careful work of its shinobi, there exists something quieter, something unspoken, a tension, like ripples upon water. The Uchiha have always lived together, their district forming a world of its own. The roads there are swept clean, lined with lantern posts carved from dark wood. The gardens are tended carefully, stones placed with intention, trees pruned with elegance, ponds where koi swim in silence. It is a place of discipline, a place of heritage. To step into the Uchiha compound is to feel history breathing. And yet, when villagers from outside pass through its gates, they feel something else, a watchfulness, a sense that eyes are upon them, not hostile and not unkind, but sharp, measured, always aware. Those eyes, the Sharingan, are the pride of the clan, eyes that can see beyond illusion, beyond movement, into the very flow of battle itself. But to the rest of the village, those eyes sometimes felt unsettling, too powerful, too piercing, as though the Uchiha could read not just the body, but the heart. And so a quiet distance grew. The other clans of the village mingled freely, the Hyuga with their gentle formality, the Nara with their easy wisdom, the Inuzuka with their loyal companions. Together they trained, shared meals, laughed across markets and festivals. But the Uchiha remained apart. Their pride, their discipline, kept them close within their own walls. It was not a choice made lightly. It was a choice born of years, years where whispers from the Hokage's advisors traveled like faint currents. Whispers that the Uchiha must be watched. Whispers that their strength was too great. And though these whispers rarely became open words, they carried weight, as whispers often do. Inside the Hokage's tower, candles burned long into the night. The third Hokage, with kind eyes lined by age, would sit in silence, his hands folded before him. He remembered the Uchiha as loyal protectors, as shinobi who had stood with the leaf since its founding, but he also remembered battles past, their fire jutsu lighting the battlefield, their eyes turning the tide of wars. So strong, so unyielding, that even allies could feel a tremor of unease. He did not wish for conflict. He wished for harmony. But harmony is fragile, and mistrust is patient. And so he waited, hoping time might ease the distance. But outside the tower, time only stretched the silence longer. Children of the Uchiha asked their parents, Why do the others look at us this way? And the parents were, with steady voices, and told them stories of their ancestors. They spoke of Madara and of those who came after. They spoke of fire that could never be extinguished. They told their children to walk tall, to remember their pride, but also to remember patience. Patience, they said, is the way to survive in shadows. But even patience has limits. Young Sasuke, still a child running through the courtyards, sometimes noticed it too. He would look at the faces of villagers and wonder why their smiles seemed thinner when they turned toward him. He did not yet understand the weight his clan carried. But even he, in his innocence, felt that subtle distance. And then there was Itachi, calm, gifted, already a shinobi among shinobi. He walked through both worlds, the clan and the village, and felt the strain of both. He saw the unease in the Hokage's eyes. He saw the resolve building in his father's. He carried it all within his quiet heart. Imagine him now, standing beneath a tree in the Uchiha district. The moonlight filters through the leaves on soft silver falling across his face. His Sharingan flickers, then fades as he closes his eyes and breathes deeply. He does not wish for conflict. He wishes for peace, but he knows that peace is slipping further away. And still the village sleeps. The markets close each evening. The training grounds echo with laughter by day. Festivals light the skies with paper lanterns. On the surface, life flows as it always has. But beneath the ripples grow. Villagers whisper softly that the Uchiha are planning something, that their eyes are everywhere, that one day the clan will rise, and the Uchiha whisper in return that the village does not trust them, that their sacrifices are forgotten, that one day patience must end. Do you feel the stillness, that heavy watchful quiet that sits between two sides who will not speak aloud? It is not war, not yet. It is silence, drawn long and thin like the space before a storm. The forests around the village sway as they always have. The streams run with gentle voices. The mountains hold their shadows. But within the hearts of the Uchiha, a decision begins to form. Not in shouts and not in sudden bursts, but slowly, like the rising of a tide. The clan cannot remain in silence forever. They cannot remain apart forever. And so their thoughts turn inward, toward the idea of change, toward the idea of guiding the leaf, not from the outside, but from within. And as this thought spreads, the ripples grow stronger. Unseen by the village, unknown to the Hokage, the Uchiha's resolve begins to shine, a quiet flame, a hidden fire, waiting for its moment. The days pass gently in the hidden leaf. Sunlight filters through the branches of tall, whispering trees. Children laugh as they chase one another down the stone-paved streets, their voices echoing like bells. Merchants push open wooden shutters, their shops filling with the scent of rice, fruit, and warm bread. Shinobi return from missions, some weary, some triumphant, their shadows stretching across the ground as the sun dips lower. And all around, the rhythm of life continues, steady, familiar, unbroken. Yet beneath that rhythm, under the hum of daily life, something else stirs. It moves quietly, steadily, like an undercurrent beneath a river's surface. Change. The Uchiha carry silence no longer as a badge of discipline, but as a burden pressed too deeply upon their hearts. What was once patience, endless patience, the kind that endured suspicion, the kind that endured distance, now begins to feel like chains. Picture now the Uchiha district. Not in the bustle of day when training fields ring with sparring cries or when families tend to their gardens, Picture it in the hushed hours when the sky deepens from orange to indigo and evening draws its velvet veil. The lanterns glow in steady lines, their light spilling across wooden walls polished by generations of care. Shadows stretch long across the stone paths, bending, merging as if leaning closer to listen. The night air is cool, carrying the faint perfume of pine and the sharpness of river water. And in one hall, beneath beams carved with age, the clan gathers. The room is not crowded with noise. It breathes with solemnity. The flickering of lantern flames paints the walls in golden shadow, the light catching the faint gleam of the Sharingan in more than one pair of eyes. The silence here is not emptiness. It is anticipation. At the center sits Fugaku Uchiha, the head of the clan. His posture is straight, his face carved in stern lines of control, his voice calm. Yet beneath that calm lies certainty, hard and unyielding as stone beneath a stream. He has carried the distrust of the village long enough. He has bowed his head, waited for recognition, given loyalty even when loyalty was returned with suspicion. And now, as lantern light flickers across his features, he speaks. Not with fire, not with fury, but with words measured and deliberate, like stones placed carefully across the surface of a river, forming a path for others to follow. The leaf does not trust us, he says. It sees us not as family, but as a shadow, and we cannot remain in shadow forever. The words settle into the room like falling embers. They do not blaze, but they glow, quiet, steady, impossible to ignore. Around him the clan listens. Some shift uneasily, their sleeves rustling faintly. Others lower their heads in solemn agreement. Some eyes burn with restrained fire, others glimmer with weariness. They have all felt it. The subtle turning away, the careful glances, the space that grows wider each year between the Uchiha and the rest of the village. A space filled not with open hostility, but with silence too sharp to be ignored. They have all carried it, like carrying a weight balanced on their shoulders day after day, never allowed to set it down. And now, in this room, beneath the glow of lanterns, they feel the weight shift. Among them sits Itachi. His posture is quiet, his eyes lowered, his thoughts heavy. He is young, yet already burdened with the wisdom of one who has walked two paths. He has known the trust of the Hokage, who sees in him the potential for peace. He has known the pride of his clan, who see in him the brilliance of their bloodline. And now those two paths begin to diverge, stretching further apart with each passing moment. One path calls him toward loyalty to the village, a loyalty that asks him to bear the suspicion of his kin in silence. The other path calls him toward the family who raised him, whose pride runs deep, whose resolve cannot be broken. His heart is torn, and so he says nothing. He does not speak, not yet, for he knows that his words, heavy as they are, could tilt the balance of this night. And this night is already thick with decision. The voices continue, not raised, but low, steady, deliberate. Not shouts, but whispers, each whisper carrying the same weight as a declaration. The room fills not with chaos, but with quiet agreements, nods that speak louder than speeches, hands folded within sleeves in solemn unity. The Uchiha will act. Not tomorrow, not recklessly, not in anger, but soon. They will not destroy the leaf. They will guide it. They will not shatter its peace. They will reshape it. Outside, the lantern flames flicker as if stirred by invisible breath. The shadows seem to lean inward, as though even the night itself is listening. The Uchiha do not rise with swords drawn. They rise with intention, with resolve. They rise with the slow certainty of a tide that knows the shore cannot hold it back forever. Beyond the compound walls, the village lies unaware. Children sleep soundly in their beds, blankets tangled around them as they dream of games and heroes. The Hokage studies by lamplight, Scrolls spread across his desk, his eyes heavy yet vigilant. Patrols walk the quiet streets, their footsteps soft against the stone. The forests whisper with the sounds of owls, of crickets, of wind slipping through the leaves. To all appearances, the night is ordinary, calm, unremarkable. But within the walls of the Uchiha Hall, the story has shifted. And if you pause here, if you linger in the quiet between breaths, you can almost feel it, the turning of something vast and unseen. The breath the world holds before dawn. The heaviness in the air before rain. The silence sharper than sound before change arrives. The meeting begins to draw to its end. The decisions, though softly spoken, are clear. The clan knows its course. Fugaku closes the gathering with words that are not thunder, but stone. Words that will not be easily washed away, words that plant themselves in the soil of memory. We have given the leaf our loyalty. Now we will give it our leadership. No longer will the Uchiha be set aside. From this night, our path begins. The hall falls silent, not in hesitation, but in reverence. And then, slowly, the clan disperses. One by one, they step into the cool night. The stars spread wide above, watching in silence. The moon lays a silver sheen upon their faces, softening sternness, sharpening resolve. No blade has been drawn, no blood has been spilled, yet something irreversible has begun. The future bends, not violently, but with the inevitability of a tree growing toward the sun. After the others have gone, Itachi walks alone. His footsteps are soft upon the stone paths. He passes shuttered windows, gardens asleep in shadow, the faint glimmer of dew upon leaves. The night air is cool against his skin, his breath steady, though his thoughts are not. He thinks of Sasuke, his little brother, whose laughter fills the daylight. Sasuke, who dreams of strength, of becoming a shinobi who will be admired. He thinks of the Hokage, whose eyes carry both kindness and fear, trust and caution in equal measure. He thinks of his father standing tall in the hall, his words unbending, his resolve like iron. And he wonders, is there another path? A softer way? A way that does not demand the village bow to his clan, nor his clan bow to the village? But even in his heart, beneath the weight of doubt, he feels the truth. The tide has already turned. The decision has already been made. And choices once made are not easily undone. Now, picture the leaf the following morning. The sun spills golden light across tiled rooftops, across courtyards and gates. Shops open their doors, laughter spills into the air, footsteps echo through the training grounds. Children gather, kunai in hand, practicing, failing, rising again. Nothing looks different. The village smiles as it always has. But beneath the smiles, beneath the ordinary rhythm, a quiet current moves unseen. The Uchiha carry their secret choice, a choice that has already reshaped the future. The village, still asleep to truth, walks unknowingly toward a new dawn. The turning point has come, not with fire, not with battle, but with decision. And from decision, paths unfold. Paths that lead into shadow, into light, into futures both wondrous and terrible. Breathe deeply now, in and out. Let the weight of these moments settle gently around you. The world has shifted. The night still holds you. The story continues, slowly, softly, like the flow of a river carrying us deeper into dream. The decision has been made, and once decisions are made, they move forward like rivers seeking the sea. A river does not turn back. It bends, it curves, it slows, but always, always it finds its way onward. The Uchiha do not rush. They do not shout. They rise quietly, with the patience of those who have carried silence for too long. It begins not with fire, not with cries of war, but with footsteps. At dawn, Shinobi of the clan take their places along the rooftops. Their movements are measured, their breath controlled, their presence steady. The rooftops of the Leaf, once dotted only by early rising patrols, now carry red eyes that watch like lanterns, glowing faintly against the morning haze. Below them, the village stirs unaware. Mothers sweep their thresholds. Merchants arrange their goods. Children tug on sandals, chasing after one another. The air is filled with the ordinary sounds of morning. But above the Uchiha stand, and the ordinary begins to shift. The guards at the village gates blink in confusion. Where once they had stood with a handful of companions, now Uchiha stand beside them. The Sharingan gleams faintly, not hostile, not even questioning, simply present. One guard clears his throat, glancing sideways at the newcomer. But the Uchiha does not speak. He does not move except to adjust the sword at his hip. The silence is steady, unyielding, impossible to ignore. And so the guard returns his gaze to the road. The message is clear. From this morning onward, the gates will never be unguarded by Uchiha eyes. The marketplace opens as it always does. Shutters rise. Stalls fill with fruit, rice, fabrics, trinkets from far-off lands. The scent of grilled fish rises into the air. Merchants call to early customers, voices bright at first. But then the people notice. Upon the rooftops, upon the corners, upon the shadows of the stalls, they see them. Red eyes, calm, still, unblinking. Not menacing, not cruel, but ever present. Eyes that do not look away. And so, without a single battle cry, without a single drop of blood, the Uchiha begin their rule, not with blades drawn, but with silence and presence. A quiet flood that spreads through every street and every tower, every corner of the hidden Leaf. From his tower, the Hokage looks down. Wise, weathered, burdened by years of leadership, his eyes trace the streets he has watched over for so long. He sees it instantly, the shift. Where once the balance of the village was delicate, held by unseen hands of trust, now it is held by the steady, watchful gaze of the Uchiha. He does not move at first. He closes his eyes. The weight of his robes feels heavier upon his shoulders. For a long, long moment he says nothing, because he knows the change has already happened. It is not approaching. It is here. Within the compound, Fugaku speaks to his people. His words are steadier, his voice low, carrying not fire, but reassurance. We do not destroy, he tells them. We guide. We do not tear apart. We reshape. The Leaf is ours, and in our hands. It will stand taller than before. The clan bows their heads in quiet agreement. There are no cheers, no applause. Just silence and acceptance. A shared breath that binds them together, that settles into their hearts, like roots digging deeper into the earth. Imagine walking the streets that morning. Shops still display their goods. Children still chase one another, their laughter thin but present. Yet the air feels different. Still, heavy, as though every stone has absorbed a new weight overnight. At every turn the Sharingan gleams, not menacing, not cruel, but inescapable, unavoidable. The villagers walk softer now, their voices lower. Even the sound of sandals on stone seems quieter, as though the red eyes have stilled even the wind. And yet no harm comes, no flames rise, no cries echo. Instead, a new order settles over the Leaf, quiet as snowfall. Itachi walks through the village silently. His steps are even, his face unreadable. But inside his thoughts churn like water beneath ice. He sees fear in the villagers' eyes, a flicker that vanishes quickly but cannot be hidden. Yet he also sees something else, a strange kind of relief. For though the Uchiha's rule feels heavy, it is also certain. The villagers sense it. There will be no sudden chaos, no lawless night, no unpredictable storm. There is structure now, firm, unbending structure, and within that structure, some hearts find uneasy comfort. Sasuke, too young to understand fully, feels pride bloom in his chest. His clan, his family stand above the village now. He walks beside his mother, his small hand curled in hers. His eyes are wide, shining with the glow of innocence. Does this mean we are the strongest? He whispers, and Mikoto, gentle as ever, smooths his dark hair with her hand. Her smile is soft, tinged with a sadness she does not let him see. It means we must be strong for everyone, she says. Her words linger in the boy's heart, though he cannot yet grasp their weight. Beyond the village walls, the forest leans in. The trees whisper with a different tone, the rustle of their leaves like quiet witnesses. Birds, once loud in the dawn, fall still. The stream carries its water more softly. It is as though the land itself feels the shift, as though nature knows the leaf story has turned a page. The Hokage calls for a meeting. In the great hall, clan heads gather. The Aburame with their still-covered eyes, the Hyuga with their pale, sharp gaze, the Nara with thoughtful brows furrowed in calculation. They come, uncertain, their hearts uneasy. And then the Uchiha enter. Their presence is like smoke filling a room, not choking, but inescapable. They sit, their silence heavier than words. No voices of rebellion rise, and for every leader can see the truth. The Uchiha are already in control. To resist now would mean fracture. To fracture would mean weakness. And weakness in this world is death. So they sit, they listen, and Fugaku speaks. The leaf has been led by many hands, some strong, some uncertain. But no more will the Uchiha stand apart. We will lead. We will watch over every shadow, every street, every life within these walls. Under our eyes, the leaf will endure. Some shift uncomfortably, some nod reluctantly, but none can deny the truth. The change has already rooted too deeply. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and under Uchiha rule, the leaf grows quieter. The streets remain clean, the nights remain safe, but everything is watched. Children learn not only ninjutsu and taijutsu, but discipline, restraint, the art of silence. Even in their play, their laughter softens, as though joy must bow its head. Merchants still trade, but their voices lower. They count coins carefully, minds sharp with caution. Even festivals once filled with song and fire air subdued. Lanterns still glow, but the laughter beneath them is hushed, aware of eyes upon every shadow. At night the rooftops glow faintly red, not lanterns, but Sharingan. Eyes that never close, never turn away. Some villagers feel safer than ever. Others feel caged. But all adjust, because the Uchiha are everywhere, and resistance is only a dream whispered in secret. In this order, the leaf finds a balance, not the balance of trust, not the balance of freedom, but the balance of certainty, of control, of unblinking eyes. The tide has come in, the shore has been covered, and the village stands within it, unable to remember the days before the flood. As the moon rises each night, silver light spilling across tiled roofs, the story settles once more into silence. The Uchiha have taken the leaf, not with chaos, not with destruction, but with calm, with stillness, with the slow inevitability of rivers, of tides, of snowfall. Breathe now slowly. Inhale, exhale. The village sleeps under watchful eyes, and you too may rest beneath their quiet glow. When the Uchiha finally secured their control, the hidden leaf no longer resembled the village people once knew. At first, the changes were subtle. The Uchiha crest, red and white like flame and fan, was everywhere. On flags that swayed over rooftops, on uniforms that shinobi wore with pride, or perhaps with fear, and even engraved into the stone walls that once honored the Hokage. Children grew up learning Uchiha philosophies, not the balanced teachings of the old village. They were told, strength is everything. Unity comes only through fear of loss, and betrayal must be crushed before it blooms. The classrooms echoed with stern voices, reminding the next generation of the tragedies of the past. And slowly, very slowly, the village's heartbeat began to change. At first, the people obeyed. After all, the Uchiha were powerful. No enemy dared to invade. Merchants passed through gates safely, knowing no bandit or rogue would dare cross the Uchiha's watchful Sharingan eyes. Peace, on the surface, seemed secured. But underneath that calm river, currents of unease swirled. The Hyuga whispered to one another in secret. Their pride had always stood tall, but now the Byakugan was seen as inferior, secondary to the Sharingan's fire. Their elders wondered if their bloodline would wither away in the shadows of another clan. The Ino Shikacho trio, once pillars of balance, found themselves pushed into roles of obedience. The Uchiha demanded loyalty, demanded silence, demanded that their vision of the future be accepted without question. And then came the strain within the Uchiha themselves, because unity within a clan is easy when you are oppressed. But once in power, once at the top, old rivalries awaken, different visions clash, and pride becomes poison. Some Uchiha believed in ruling through fear, maintaining a tight grip, ensuring every whisper of dissent was silenced before it became dangerous. Others, including those who still remembered the warmth of comradeship, believed in compromise. They wanted to build bridges, to honor the sacrifices of those who had died in Konoha's wars. And so the clan was no longer united. Meetings grew heated. Eyes glowed red even at family gatherings. The Sharingan, once a tool of defense, became a silent threat, even between kin. Night after night, arguments grew. Brothers clashed with brothers. Fathers doubted sons. Whispers of civil war within the Uchiha clan itself began to stir. The people of Konoha watched from afar. Some pitied them. Others feared the day the Uchiha's fire would burn inward, consuming itself and dragging the entire village into ash. But perhaps the greatest struggle of all came from the youngest generation of Uchiha. The children who were born into power, who never knew what it was like to fight for respect. They had Sharingan eyes gifted early, sharpened by training harsher than any before. And yet, what they lacked was humility. Where their ancestors carried scars of loss, these new children only carried entitlement. They grew restless, reckless. Some began to abuse their powers against villagers, using genjutsu not to protect, but to dominate. Imagine walking down the lantern-lit streets of Konoha and feeling a pair of red eyes follow you, not in malice, but in quiet control. A reminder you live under Uchiha law, that even your dreams, should they wish, could be twisted into illusions you cannot escape. How would one sleep peacefully under such a gaze? The struggle of power was not only external, it weighed on the clan leaders too. For Fugaku, or whichever Uchiha had risen as Hokage in this story, the days grew long. To rule is to sacrifice. To rule is to decide who eats, who starves, who lives, and who must die for the sake of order. Every night his eyes burned from overuse of the Sharingan. Every morning his voice grew heavier with doubt. He had thought victory would bring relief, that revenge would heal the wounds of the past. But instead it chained him to a throne colder than stone, and beyond the walls of the village, the world watched. The other great nations, sand, mist, stone, and cloud, saw the Uchiha banner flying over the leaf, and they did not smile. They did not feel relief, They felt fear. For if the Uchiha could overthrow their own comrades, what would stop them from reaching across borders? What would stop them from extending that crimson gaze to the entire shinobi world? And so, the seeds of war began to scatter. The Uchiha, though powerful, were not endless. They could not stand against every nation, not while carrying the weight of their own inner fractures. And yet, pride would not let them admit weakness. So they prepared, trained harder, watched the horizon with suspicion. The once vibrant hidden leaf, a place of laughter, festivals, and warm bonds, grew quieter. Streets were patrolled more strictly. Conversations ended abruptly when a shinobi passed. Children learned to lower their voices when speaking of the Hokage. And slowly, the soul of Konoha began to dim. But here is the question, dear dreamer. Was this inevitable? Was the downfall woven into the Uchiha's destiny? Or could it have been avoided, had they ruled with more compassion than vengeance? As the stars above look down on this alternate world, the truth becomes clear. Power is never simply won. It is tested. It demands patience. It consumes those who believe it can be controlled without sacrifice. And in this tale, the Uchiha would learn that to take over the hidden leaf was only the beginning. The true challenge was keeping it alive. So, as you drift further into sleep, let your mind picture the red glow of Sharingan eyes fading slowly into darkness. Eyes that once promised strength but now flicker with uncertainty. Eyes that carry the burden of a village and the weight of dreams unfulfilled. And with that image, let yourself rest. For the struggles of power are heavy even to imagine. And tomorrow, in another chapter, we will see where such a path may lead. At first, the people believed. The Uchiha spoke of protection, of unity, of strength against all enemies. And for a while, those promises seemed true. The leaf prospered under their watch. Enemies hesitated before raising a hand against a village with the Sharingan at its helm. But deep within the village walls, seeds of doubt began to grow. Other clans, the Hyuga, the Aburame, the Nara, and the Yamanaka, looked at the ever-watchful red eyes. They wondered quietly. Were they allies, or prisoners in their own home? In the market stalls, whispers began to drift between merchants. At the academy, young children repeated questions their parents had murmured the night before. Even among the Uchiha themselves, some started to ask if ruling had changed their clan more than they had ever imagined. Fugaku Uchiha had taken the Hokage's seat. A stern man, proud and unbending, he had carried his clan into this new era. But now, older and wearier, he found the weight of leadership crushing him. The Hokage's office, once filled with petitions and laughter, grew heavy with silence. Scrolls piled high on his desk, disputes, requests, complaints, demands. No matter how many times he told himself it was worth it, Fugaku felt the strain. He had become the symbol of Uchiha power, but also the shield absorbing every dart of blame. At night, when the torches flickered low, he sometimes wondered if his son Itachi would be forced to inherit not just the clan's power, but its growing unease. Itachi, no longer a child, walked the village streets as if he belonged to two worlds at once. The villagers admired him. Children whispered his name with awe. But Itachi saw the truth they did not. His Sharingan had shown him things most could not see. Not just the flicker of chakra in battle, but the flicker of fear in people's hearts. He noticed the hesitation in a shopkeeper's smile, the wary glance of a Hyuga elder, the silence in meetings where once there had been laughter. Itachi loved his clan. He loved the leaf. And deep inside, he began to ask the question no one dared to voice aloud. Had the Uchiha, in their quest to protect the village, become the very thing the village had once feared? Outside the walls, the world changed. The hidden cloud tested the leaf's strength, sending shinobi to probe the borders. The hidden mist stirred with rumors of rebellion. The sand, ever calculating, watched for weakness. But the greatest danger came not from beyond, but from within. The Hyuga, proud of their Byakugan, resented being treated as second. The Ino-Shikacho alliance, who had long supported the Hokage's office, grew tired of Uchiha dominance. Even the civilians, bakers, smiths, teachers, began to feel restless beneath the eyes that never stopped watching. The village, once united, had become a place of quiet divisions. And divisions like cracks in stone grow deeper with every passing year. Shisui, the man once known as Shisui of the body flicker, found himself caught in the middle. He loved his clan deeply, but he loved peace even more. His Mangekyo Sharingan, with its power to bend minds, weighed heavily on him. Should he use it to force harmony? Could he change the hearts of dissenters, erase their doubts, make them loyal once more? But Shisui knew peace created by force was fragile. And once the mind was controlled, could it truly be called peace at all? Night after night, he stood by the Naka River, watching the water flow. The same river where once, in another timeline, he had thrown himself after losing his eye to betrayal. In this world, he still wrestled with the same question. Was the Uchiha's rule a gift to the leaf, or a curse? And then, there was Sasuke, still a child, still untouched by the weight of politics and history. He laughed as he trained with wooden kunai. He admired his older brother's every move. He looked at his father with respect, his mother with warmth, and his clan with pride. To Sasuke, the Uchiha were not rulers. They were family. They were heroes. But the world around him whispered differently. And one day those whispers would reach even his young ears. Imagine yourself as a simple villager in this world. Not a shinobi, not a clan head, just someone trying to raise a family. At first you feel safe. The Uchiha patrol the streets with unmatched vigilance. Crime falls. Foreign spies vanish before they even reach the inner gates. But safety comes with a cost. Those eyes, always watching. You feel them even when you're alone, even when you say nothing wrong. The sense of freedom you once took for granted slowly fades. You ask yourself quietly, late at night, are we safe because of the Uchiha? Or are we safe only as long as we obey them? At the academy, children of non-Uchiha clans feel the weight of expectation. Why can't you be like Itachi, their teachers sometimes say. The Uchiha excel, their Sharingan awakening earlier and earlier, their techniques praised and celebrated. But in the shadows of their brilliance, resentment brews. Children grow up believing they are lesser. And when those children become shinobi, that resentment turns into something sharper. The Uchiha's dominance ensures strength, but it also sows the seeds of rebellion in the next generation. The leaf stands at a crossroads. One path leads to unity, where the Uchiha find a way to share power, to open their arms wider than ever before. The other path leads to division, where resentment boils into open conflict. Itachi sees both futures. Shisui feels the weight of the choice. Fugaku, tired but unyielding, clings to the belief that strength will carry them through. And the villagers wait, watching, whispering, wondering what tomorrow will bring. So now, as you drift further into rest, imagine the uncertainty of this world. The Uchiha sit upon the throne of the leaf, but their throne is built on fragile stone. Will they adapt, soften, and become true protectors of all? Or will their pride blind them, turning their rule into tyranny? The answer is not yet written. And perhaps in dreams you can imagine how it might unfold. For the story of the Uchiha is a story of fire, and fire, no matter how bright it burns, always casts a long, long shadow. Imagine now, the hidden leaf under Uchiha rule has become something entirely different from the village you once knew. The years have passed. The foundations laid by the clan have grown into towering structures of order, discipline, and pride. But beneath the shining banners of the Uchiha crest, the shadows grow restless. The children born into this era know no world but one ruled by the Sharingan. They walk the streets under murals of their ancestors, listening to stories of how the clan saved the leaf from its corrupt elders. Their textbooks teach them that loyalty to the Uchiha is loyalty to the village itself. Yet even among these new generations, quiet questions stir. Why must every eye awaken the Sharingan to be respected? Why are those without the Uchiha blood treated as lesser? What happens to those who resist? The whispers echo, like faint wind rustling through forgotten leaves. The Hokage Tower, once a symbol of unity, has become a fortress of the clan's dominance. Meetings are no longer filled with the laughter of diverse voices. Instead, one after another, Uchiha elders argue over tradition, purity, and control. Some believe the clan must open its arms to outsiders, forging a true alliance of all leaf shinobi. Others argue that power must never again slip from their grasp. The council is divided. And in this tension, the seeds of a new conflict quietly take root. Down in the training grounds, young shinobi spar beneath the crimson gaze of statues carved with Sharingan eyes. The children of the Hyuga, Nara, Akimichi, and Yamanaka still serve the village faithfully, but their clans are given secondary roles. No matter how hard they train, no matter what brilliance they show, they always feel the weight of comparison to the Uchiha. For some, this sparks determination. For others, it sparks resentment. Now, imagine Naruto Uzumaki growing up in such a world. In the original story, he was ignored because of the 9 tails sealed within him. But under Uchiha rule, things twist further. The clan sees him not only as a vessel of danger, but also as a reminder of their greatest triumph, how they took control after the beast once ravaged the village. Instead of shunning him with fear, they watch him with suspicion. Every step he takes, every word he speaks is monitored. He is never allowed to be free. The young boy with dreams of becoming Hokage finds that the very symbol of leadership is no longer open to him. It is reserved for Uchiha alone. And yet, perhaps that is where his fire burns even brighter. Naruto trains harder. He pushes himself against every boundary, determined to prove that strength does not come only from bloodline. Slowly, quietly, he begins to inspire those around him, children of non-Uchiha clans who feel just as overlooked as he does. Meanwhile, deep within the forests on the outskirts of the village, a group begins to gather in secrecy. They are shinobi who whisper of the old leaf, a village where unity came not from fear but from trust. Some are elders who remember the time before the Uchiha takeover. Others are young dreamers who long for freedom. Together they call themselves the Will of Fire Reborn. Their movement grows slowly, but steadily. They do not yet challenge the Uchiha openly, but in the silence of the night they train. They share ideas, they plan. And among their hidden allies stands Naruto Uzumaki. Now, let us step into the heart of the Uchiha themselves. Not all within the clan agree with the direction things have taken. Some, like Itachi, if he had lived in this timeline, would see the cracks forming. He would walk through the streets at night, watching the uneasy eyes of non-Uchiha villagers, listening to the muffled cries of those punished for dissent. He would question whether this is truly peace or merely fear dressed as order. Shisui too in this alternate path might whisper his doubts. The same Mangekyo that once dreamed of uniting the leaf now sees how easily power corrupts. He would wonder, did we save the village or simply chain it in a new way? The children of the clan themselves begin to feel the burden of expectation. Every Uchiha is told they must awaken the Sharingan, master fire release, and carry the weight of their ancestors' pride. Some succeed, some do not. Those who fail are cast aside, living in quiet shame within the very clan that once promised them glory. The cycle of pressure deepens. The Uchiha have built a world of dominance, but dominance is a fragile throne. And so in this bedtime tale, the hidden leaf becomes a village of two realities. On the surface, order, strength, and the illusion of unity. The streets are safe. The enemies outside fear the crimson gaze of the Sharingan. The Uchiha name is whispered with respect across every nation. But beneath, division, resentment, and the quiet heartbeat of rebellion. As years pass, a choice looms before the village. Will the Uchiha adapt, opening their hands to true unity, or will their grip tighten until the leaf itself shatters beneath them? Perhaps Naruto, with his unyielding spirit, will be the bridge, showing that the will of fire belongs to all, not just one clan. Perhaps Sasuke, torn between pride and doubt, will one day lead his people toward change, or perhaps the cycle of hatred will repeat, dragging the leaf into another storm of blood and betrayal. And so, dear listener, as your eyes grow heavy, picture this world where the Uchiha took the throne. Picture the shadows it casts upon every child, every dream, every secret whisper in the night. The lesson lingers softly. Power alone cannot build peace, for peace must come from understanding, from trust, from the bonds that tie us together, not from the eyes that watch us in fear. And with that thought, let the world of crimson fade into the quiet of sleep. The night deepens, and our story drifts into its final arc. Imagine the village now, years after the Uchiha have taken power. The streets are quiet, lanterns glowing in the gentle wind, their flickering lights painting the pathways in warm colors. The storm of war has long passed, the fiery clashes of rebellion and revolution no longer echo through the skies. What remains is the hum of rebuilding, of lives piecing themselves back together, and of the endless pursuit of balance. When the Uchiha first took over the hidden leaf, it seemed as though the world had tilted forever. The proud clan, once pressed into the shadows of suspicion, now stood in the center of everything. Their Sharingan eyes guided decisions, their strategies carved new futures, and their presence weighed upon every villager's heart. Some feared them, some admired them, and some, quietly, simply learned to live under their reign. But time has a way of softening edges. What begins as forceful can mellow into stability, and what feels overwhelming can become routine. The Uchiha discovered this truth as their rule stretched into years. Governing, after all, was not simply about winning a battle, it was about maintaining the delicate thread that connected people, culture, and hope. Let us walk slowly through the changes. Picture the hidden leaf as it now stands. The architecture has shifted. Where once Hokage monuments carved into stone represented singular leaders, new structures rise, tall black and red towers marked with the Uchiha fan crest. These are the watchtowers standing at the four edges of the village, their purpose to protect and to remind. Inside the village, a new academy thrives. Unlike the old ninja academy where the will of fire was taught, this new place emphasizes discipline, unity, and above all, awareness of one's own limits. Children are taught to meditate, to channel chakra efficiently, and to respect the vision of the clan. The Sharingan itself, once feared, has become a symbol taught in every textbook, not just as an ability, but as a philosophy, the power to see through illusions, to find truth even when it is hidden. And yet, change always comes with quiet murmurs. The will of fire, once the beating heart of the leaf, now flickers faintly. Elders of other clans remember the speeches of Hashirama, the kindness of Hiruzen, the reckless bravery of Minato. They wonder, quietly, if those days are gone forever. But for the younger generation, those names are mere whispers. What they know is stability. They grow up safe, fed, and trained. And so they learn to dream within the world the Uchiha have shaped. Among the Uchiha who stand tall, Sasuke becomes a figure of quiet contradiction. In another timeline, he would have left the village burned by vengeance and consumed by loneliness. But here, under the clan's dominance, he stays. His role is not of an outcast, but of a reluctant prince. He walks through the village, his gaze heavy, his heart torn between love for his clan and unease at its rule. He remembers Itachi's pain, the choices his brother made in the shadows, sacrificing everything for peace. And Sasuke wonders, often silently, whether the clan's current rule truly honors that sacrifice or erases it. Children look up to him, whispering about his unmatched Sharingan, his calm strength. Yet Sasuke does not smile, for deep in his chest he fears the cycle of hatred is only hidden, not broken. He knows the eyes of the Uchiha carry not just vision, but burden. And so, while others rule boldly, Sasuke listens, watches, and questions. He becomes a balance within the clan itself, a reminder that power must be tempered, that dominance must bend before it shatters. But what of Naruto? The boy whose dream was always to be Hokage. In this new world, that dream never comes true in the way he imagined. There is no single Hokage anymore. The title is gone, replaced by the Uchiha Council, a circle of elders and leaders who make decisions as one. At first, Naruto fought this reality. He argued, he resisted, he refused to bow his head. But time once again softens all things. The people still loved him, still respected his heart. And so, the Uchiha did something unexpected. They gave him a new role. Naruto became the voice of the people, not a leader in name, not a ruler, but a bridge. He walked through the streets, spoke to farmers, laughed with children, trained with young shinobi, and brought back the whispers of the village to the council chambers. His presence reminded everyone that power must listen to the weak. In a way, Naruto became something even greater than Hokage. He became the heart of the people, while the Uchiha remained the mind of the village. Together, though sometimes uneasy, they formed a strange balance. The Hyuga, proud and traditional, found themselves both threatened and respected. Their Byakugan, while different from the Sharingan, was recognized as essential. The Uchiha understood that strength comes not from crushing allies, but from weaving them into the web of power. And so, the Hyuga were granted their own elevated place, ensuring that their ancient traditions remained intact. The Nara clan, with their wisdom, became advisors, shadow thinkers behind the strategies of war and peace. The Yamanaka became guardians of information, their mental abilities woven into the council's work. The Aburame, silent as ever, patrolled the unseen edges of the village, ensuring that even in the dark, the Uchiha's rule was unchallenged. One by one, the clans adjusted. Some resisted quietly, some embraced the changes, but all, in time, found their role in the new order. The most remarkable change, however, was outside the village walls. Where once the hidden leaf had constant battles with the sand, the stone, the mist, and the cloud, now there was something different. A strange respect. The Uchiha's rule projected strength, an unshakable aura that warned enemies of the cost of war. But it also promised stability. Trade routes reopened, treaties were signed. Even the Raikage, fiery as he was, found reason to pause before clashing with the new leaf. The world did not become perfect, far from it. There were still skirmishes, still betrayals, still shadows. But compared to the chaos of before, this era was quieter, steadier. For the first time in decades, children across nations grew up without the daily fear of destruction. And yet, through all this, a whisper remained. Was this true peace, or merely silence born of fear? The Uchiha had power, yes. They brought order, yes. But order without freedom can feel heavy. Sasuke knew this, Naruto felt it too, and deep within the hearts of villagers, there was always a flicker of the old will of fire, a belief that love and bonds, not just power, should guide the world. Perhaps one day that whisper would grow again, rising into flame. Perhaps the Uchiha's rule would evolve, softening to embrace not only strength but compassion. Or perhaps, as history so often shows, another shift would come and balance would once again tilt. But for now, under the stars, the village rests. Children dream without fear. Lanterns glow on the quiet streets. The Uchiha, once the clan of shadows, now stand in the open, carrying both the pride of victory and the burden of leadership. And so the story closes not with an ending but with a balance, fragile, shifting, but for this moment, holding steady. As you drift into sleep, imagine walking those quiet streets of the Hidden Leaf. The night air is cool, the leaves rustle gently, and the shadows of the Uchiha Tower stretch long but calm. You hear the soft laughter of children, the hum of families sharing meals, the whisper of peace earned through pain. The story of what if the Uchiha took over the Hidden Leaf is not a tale of heroes or villains, but of choices, consequences, and the endless dance of power and love. It is a story of what could have been and perhaps what one day might still be. Now let your eyes close and let the village fade into dream. The lanterns dim, the stars brighten, and the story settles into silence.